Hi, Lee Schwang. This is Dr. Dodds. I'm doing the recording from the point that you stopped hearing the audio. I don't know what went wrong there. The IT people are going to try to help me out, or I'm going to use a different classroom, or at least a different audio. There was something that went wrong. If I've said your name correctly, I hope, let me know when you record your first assignment. I would see it and pronounce it Lee Schwang. Wang. Yeah, if I'm saying that wrong, please correct me. Tell me how you want me to say your name, and that'd be great. Uh, as I heard you and looked at the audio or looked at the recording, it stopped in that first point that we're talking about. So I'm not going to repeat anything that's from before. That seemed to be all right. Almost sound like the sound was cracking up there, and then it finally quit. So I hope mine here on my laptop continues on. I'm going to compress what I said and definitely won't say as much time-wise, but I'm going to go through the material, definitely go through the assignments, what I did with the guys there in class. But I'm going to do it uniquely for you. I see that you have no languages, you've not taken Greek or Hebrew, and you're almost done with your MABT. You've got 33 credits. This will take you right up to the finishing the MABT if that's what you've done here at Calvary. So you're familiar with a lot of the formatting stuff. But let me take you through the assignments this week and let me know. Give me a feedback when you record your when you record yourself for this first assignment. Let me get the PowerPoint up, share it with you, and hopefully you'll see it. Right, here we are with the first slide. What's research? Why I've wrote it up in a formal paper. What we're trying to do is connect with our readers. And so it's going to be like a conversation. You know, when you write here at Calvary, you've written for a professor. And so you've got a conversation going with the professor. They have given you an assignment and you're coming back and just conversing with them. So think of it. Good writing is imagined conversation. Good writers make proper informed judgments about their readers' needs and goals. And good writers envision, you imagine, you're thinking of a specific professor when you're writing an assignment here. When you're doing a research project, you're thinking of a specific group of people that are going to read either your book, your article. I'm the editor here for IJOBA, our interdisciplinary journal on biblical authority here at Calvary. And so I encourage people to write for individuals who are in their discipline, whether it's English, it's math, it's Bible and theology, it's music. You're writing for an audience that would be interested in your reading and your writing, that would want to read it. And so imagine a conversation with them. What would they be interested in? So we need to understand our role in that writing process. Since few people really read formal research papers for entertainment, it's not fun that they're looking for, we have to create a relationship with them to help the reader to see why they should be reading your writing, your research. Why is it in their best interest to read your paper? 3 good reasons. I found something interesting, some good information that you'd be interested in. This offer assumes that the reader wants to know the facts. They might not want to know the facts, but you have to say it in such a way, right through your writing. We do it with oral communication as well, but we do it through our writing in a way that helps them to want to read. Cast yourself in the role of someone who's found something that your reader will find interesting, your readers is someone who wants to know, even though they might not. At that point, you have to think of them and decide what they would be interested in. So that's knowing something about them. A second reason for offering facts to your reader, I found a solution to an important practical problem that you have a question about. You're saying to your reader, here are some facts that'll help you to solve a problem that you care about. You, the writer, are the professional who's gone and done the research to give them the advice that they need to find a solution. We do that often. We do that as preachers. We go to God's word and present the information they need. We need to do that as a writer in our research. Think of all the papers that you've written. Some of them have been very practical. Most are theological, but hopefully you have communicated the practical implications of the truth that you found in God's word. Third, I've found an answer to an important question that you need to ask, are asking. This is the role of most academic research writers. I found the answer to that question in that biblical text. Wow, okay, good. Show me that answer. Now, hopefully you also talk about the practical implications. God gave us his word to change our lives, not just fill our heads. So that's another reason. You have to imagine the reader's role in this process. They're going to read your research findings, your conclusions. You're going to think through your role and then imagine where they're at. Some people just want to be entertained. Well, that's not really why we're writing and what the class is about. Hopefully they want more than just that. Help me solve my practical problem. Well, we've talked about that. And for sure, help me to understand something better. And that's where the vast majority of our academic writing at the graduate level is all about. Ultimately, the reader will care about your documents only if you show them how your documents, your research project, serves as evidence that helps you to answer a question, them to answer. It's important to the understanding of something important to the reader. Our academic readers will always adopt this third role. The readers will think you've fulfilled your side of the social contract in this conversation with your readers through your writing. You fulfilled your role when you've treated them as those who we think they are, scholars who are interested in greater knowledge, better understanding, practical answers. You are concerned with your particular community of readers, with their interests and expectations, improving their understanding based on the best evidence you can find. And that's a social contract. And that's what our writing should be all about. So think about that when you do your writing. My screen is frozen on me. All right. Asking questions, finding answers. What we want to do in planning our project, here's just an overview. We're going to come back to it. Find a topic specific enough to let you master a reasonable amount of information in the time that you have. Now, time to write, time to do the research and the writing. There's an assignment limit. You know about that here at school. You only have so many weeks to write it. There's also a page limit or a word limit, depending on the assignment that you're given. For our master's thesis here, we look for 50 to 75, 85 pages, roughly. Now, perhaps you can go more, but you're going to have to talk with your advisor for your master's thesis if you write master's thesis that you go on to the Master of Divinity program. Find a topic that's specific enough that can fill in that information and you can give an adequate answer to the research question. Talk about that topic in an appropriate way to give that appropriate information, answer that question of that problem. So we're going to talk about specifically here tonight, in your first assignment, narrow that topic down. Second, question that topic until you find questions that catch your interest. So we're going to bombard it, and I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. Third, determine the kinds of evidence that your readers will expect you to offer in support of your answer. Now, here at seminary, you've already learned that we want biblical answers, solid biblical exegesis. We want good theological answers. There's a reasonableness to, a rationalness to it. a philosophical conclusion that seems appropriate, theological conclusion, biblically theological conclusion. And then finally, determine whether you can find, excuse me, I'm trying to move my little screen around. Determine whether you can find that evidence. Listen to this book that I talked about that I'm taking this material from. It's built off of Turabian. You'll discover, however, that you can't march through these steps that I just talked about here on the screen, 1, 2, 3, and 4, in a neat order that we present them. So it's not first one and then you're done with it, and second, then you're done with it, and third, and then fourth. And you know this, you've done enough papers here. They go on. You'll think of a tentative answer to your research question before you have all the evidence you need to support it. And when you think you have an argument worth making, you'll discover that you need more and maybe different evidence from new sources. You may even modify your topic, your thesis. Doing research is not like strolling along in an easy, well-marked path to a familiar destination. It's more like zigzagging up and down a rocky hill through overgrown woods, sometimes in a fog, searching for something you won't recognize until you see it. But no matter how indirect your path, you can make progress if at each step of the way you plan for predictable detours and maybe even avoid some of them. Now, you're going to find the process, and you've already found it. Sometimes you go through this process and you come back and you refine. That's what we're talking about. So stay in the process and don't be frustrated. From topic to questions. From an interest to a topic. A subject is a broad area of knowledge. For example, climate change is a subject. A topic, for the purposes of our course and what we're thinking of for research, is a specific interest within that area. The area, climate change. The topic, the effect of climate change on migratory birds. The effect of climate change on migratory birds. What has been that effect? There's a research question. We haven't set out a thesis is there is a negative effect on migratory birds. There's a positive effect on migratory birds. Notice what the difference is. From a topic to a thesis is adding the verb. A topic is a noun phrase with its modifiers. The effect of climate change on migratory birds. The thesis then completes that statement, is negative. Now, I'd want to say more in my thesis statement, but we're talking about a topic. A topic is an approach to a subject, one that asks a question whose answer solves a problem that your reader cares about. Either that practical problem or that more intellectual problem. So how do we go from an interest to a topic? A research topic is an interest stated specifically enough for you to imagine becoming a local expert on it. That's what your paper, that's what your research is all about. I'm going to prove to you I've got the answer. I'm the expert. Listen to my answer. Finding a topic for an advanced project, you find interests that other researchers have, topics that interest them. So you go online, look for recurring issues in your area of discipline or interest or debates that people are having. You go to the library, you ask librarians in your area of discipline and what's new, or find trade journals in that area. For our purposes in Bible and theology here at seminary, we're going to go to theological journals from a spectrum, conservative, liberal, see what they're discussing. If you're talking in ministry studies, my discipline primarily, I'd go to the journals about church work. I'd go to blog sites and listen to what people are listening to and what kinds of answers they're coming to on those topics. You go from a broad topic to a focused one. A topic is probably too broad if you can state it in 4 or 5 words or less. For example, the deity of Christ. That's 4 or 5 words or less. Now, So that's so broad. What do you mean the deity of Christ? Don't narrow your topic so much that you can't find information on it. That's one side of it. But don't keep it so broad either. From focus topic to questions. Uh, from focus topic to questions, excuse me. Ask about the history of your topic. When was the deity of Jesus Christ discussed in church history most vociferously? Well, very early in church history. How does the deity of Christ relate to substitutionary atonement? There's a comparison question. Ask how your topic is categorized. The deity of Christ talks about the nature of God relative to the other persons of the Godhead. Maybe that's what I'm trying to focus on or need to focus on. Turn positive questions into negative ones. Why do people say Jesus was not divine? That's a significant question to answer. What if Jesus was not deity? A speculative question. Ask questions suggested by your sources. Ask questions that build agreement, that reflect disagreement in this area. Evaluate your questions that you're asking. Look for questions whose answers might make you, and ideally your readers, think of your topic in a new way, in a different way, in a very important way to them and to you. The most significant question is, so what? That practical one. Why would others think it's a question worth asking? Jesus Christ, why is it necessary to prove that Jesus Christ is divine? Well, there's a good practical. It's either about reflecting the nature of God. It's about a verse where it says he reveals the Godhead. And if he isn't divine, he can't do that. Theologically, if he's not divine, could he be the appropriate savior from sin for us, our substitute? Name your topic, add an indirect question, answer the so what. So here's the grid that I want you to use for this assignment for Thursday. Now, you're hearing this late and a week late, so work through it. And we've got a time difference with you where you're at overseas and me here in the States, but we'll work it through. Actually write this out in the answer with the research topic, the question in Canvas that talks about research topic. Number one, what are you writing about? I'm writing about the topic of, and finish that sentence. Second, what you don't know about it. I'm writing about the topic of the deity of Christ because I want to find out, and then finish that statement. And notice this one is where you get the question, the research question, because I want to find, was Jesus really divine through the whole incarnation or just before and after? If Jesus was, because I want to find out if Jesus was divine, how could he die for our sin? All right, see, there's the research question. The topic, the deity of Christ, because I want to find out, question. Well, finish the statement. It doesn't sound like a question as you write it, but the question's implied. And the third one is why you want your reader to know. So just write 1, 2, 3 and answer using that italicized and in quotation and fill that out. I'm writing about the topic of, fill it in. Because I want to find out about, fill it in order to help my reader to understand better substitutionary atonement of Christ. Now, you answer for the topic that you're working on here, Li Xiang. Let me know any questions that you have, but this is the format that I want you to use in Canvas in that research topic assignment for this week. All right, what I dealt with next in class, I gave some examples from a book, from a journal, and from a book with multiple chapters written by different people meaning the Dallas commentary, the 2-volume one. I gave an example. It's edited by Don Campbell, but the specific chapter I want was Defense of Dispensationalism by Stanley Toussaint, a book with multiple chapters written there. If you have any questions, you can see the slides, or you can see the videos I went through where to find those. Now let me back up just to show you what I was talking about. All right, I hope you can see this one here, and I'm going to make it larger. Here's that book I was just talking about. It's Walvard, a tribute. Walvard attributes the title, edited by, I need that information. Go down to the editor's page, the copyright page, and I have the date, which it was copyrighted. And then the specific chapter. If I were to make a bibliographic entry, I would begin with the specific chapter, the author, Stanley Toussaint, Stanley D, title in quotation marks for a chapter in a book. In this case, it's edited by Biblical Defense of Dispensationalism. And then I'd go back up and put in Walvard a tribute. Now that's in italics, a title of a book edited by Donald K. Campbell, and then the publishing information, Moody Press, and the date, 1982. That's what I'm seeing there. All right, so go into Turabian and see how to format a book like this. Back up to a journal, and I'm not starting with the title page, because in a journal, you come to the copyright page, see the date of that edition, but really you're wanting to come down to the specific page. Now this is Bibliotheca Sacra is the book, so that's the title. I don't have it, a theological journal, but a specific article in that, the Priority of Prayer, written by James Sweeney. So Sweeney, James P., in quotation marks, the Priority of Prayer in Colossians 4, verses 2 through 4. And the specific page I want to quote, I need to identify that. But then I go back up to Bibliotheca Sacra and edited by Roy Zuck. That's who I'd put next. And then the page numbers of the article, and that's all on this first page of the article. So you're going to find the information, but you can go to Turabian, see how to do it. Now, a book by one author, The Gospel According to John, no subtitle, by Carson, D.A. Notice the publishing information. I have England and America. I use America since I'm in America. I don't have to put both publishing. I have the copyright date for William B. Erdman's Publishing. And I don't need the word company there. William B. Erdman's. In fact, we could use here at Calvary, but just using it, William B. Erdman's Publishing, and the copyright, and then a specific page that I want to reference if I'm using a footnote. But beyond that, it's just in at the end would be the publication date, and it's from Grand Rapids, Michigan, William B. Erdman's, and then the publication date there, the copyright date. All right, you've done enough papers. Hopefully you're familiar with Turabian. In the class schedule, let me flip to that. Make sure you heard this. As you're looking at the class schedule, which is in Canvas, it's in the syllabus page. It has the syllabus and the class schedule. Notice in the center here, you have the chapters in Turabian that I want you to read. And then for the specific formatting assignment, you're going to find, and I don't have Canvas up here, but when you get into Canvas, go to the specific assignment. You open it up for formatting practice, is what it's entitled, and it'll show you the section in Turabian to open up and I think it's chapter 16 for this first one, just basic, what you've been doing all along, chapter 16. And what we use at Calvary is notes, bibliography style, not the APA form, which would be well, 17, verse 17. The style we aren't using. Trying to get to it. Don't flip page. Notes bibliography page. Well, the basic form. Well, there's another form. We use notes bibliography. I'm not going to waste our time here. They're in Turabian. Let me shift now to the other PowerPoint slide relative to the languages. And let's talk about the languages. Hey, this is all I did, Li Shuang, here the first night. Introduction to the languages, and we talked through the alphabet. You know, you're a little further down the road, you're familiar with the languages. What I want you to do for the first assignment is say the alphabet, Greek and Hebrew. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta. Eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, almost a xi with a K type sound, omicron, p, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. Notice at the top with the sigma, you have two options. If the sigma is at the end of a word, it will be the one to the right. It has the little drop down. If it's in the word, looks like an O with a squiggly on the top of it. Your assignment, since you have no languages, is to read the Greek alphabet and sound out some words. Come on. That wasn't all of it. Greek vowels. Well, I didn't get it. You can see the vowels like we have in English. And I'm not up on, if you know Chinese, perhaps I'm making a guess on the language. A, E, eta, iota, omicron, omega, and upsilon. Different. The remaining letters are consonants. Vowels are either short or long in their sound. A, eh. There are separate Greek characters for the E and O sounds, but not for the A, I, and U. All right, listen to in the assignment sheet, I give you some links where you can hear them speaking Greek. So go to that and listen to them. Every Greek word that begins with a vowel will have a breathing mark. It's an apostrophe. It can be either a rough breathing is what it's called, or a smooth breathing. If the breathing is rough, then the apostrophe is curved in the opposite direction. Opposite. And you can see these little breathing marks at the top of the letters there. Over the epsilon, alpha, eta, etc. If the breathing's rough, the word is pronounced as if there was an H. Now, come on, back up. Heh, ha, hamartia for sin, as a rough breathing. Thus, the Greek word for sleep, hoop, Notice the H sound. Hypnos will be pronounced. And there's the transliteration at the end. Smooth breathings, if the breathing marks smooth, just a normal accent, it's either in front of the letter or above it. Then it's shaped exactly like an apostrophe, and the H is not pronounced. It's just alpha, epsilon, omicron. The only consonants that take a breathing mark is the letter rho, all times. If the rho is the first letter of a word, then it always has a rough breathing. This is why English-derived words such as rhinoceros, rheumatism, rhododendron, and notice the H almost comes after, but it's a slurred sound. It's all together. You're going to run into those. Let me clarify here for us, Lee Shuang, that you're not going to be reading out loud, but when you're reading a commentary and you see the word, you want to sound it out, or you're reading an article and you sound it out in your mind so you can either translate it, not translate it, transliterate it, put it in English words so you can find it in a lexicon. You can go and find it if it's built that way. If it's not an English word lexicon transliterated, then you want to find it by its Greek, in a Greek lexicon. And I don't have one sitting behind me. I've got them all at home here, all my lexicons. So I can't give an example, but you probably couldn't see it anyway with the screen here. So it's good to be able to sound it out, but this is the only exercise where you're going to have to be talking. Brief diphthongs, like we have in English when we put two vowels together, it makes a different sound. I, ow, I, and here are the different sounds for English that it would sound like in Greek. If you had a Chinese Greek text, they would get you to say the same things but have different words in your language. And this is what we do in English. But you can see when you see two vowels together, it has a slightly different sound and it's written. So we practice then, and I wish you were here to be able to help us out because I asked everybody to sound these out. Notice the rough breathing, and the other on the middle consonant, the meh, is an accent for the syllabus where the emphasis goes on in this word, as well as at the end. Hemera, day, skene, didn't put the pronunciation correctly, the emphasis, skene, tent. Notice the smooth breathing, anthropos. It's not anthropos. There's no rough breathing. Accent's normal, or the apostrophe is normal. Anthropos, man. Notice the rough breathing for sun, huios. Put an H sound, huios. Logoi. Now, the OI at the end, instead of logos, singular, this is plural, speeches, logoi, words. It's not words. It is the saying, the content. Speeches is better. Notice the rough breathing on hoda, thus. And then thubra, door. Enskene, got a prepositional phrase here, the preposition en, in English. Enskene, in a tent. There's the preposition in. Agata, you lead. Now here's a verb form. The smooth breathing. Agata, excuse me. Here's the word fear, the adjective, frightful, phoberos. Smooth breathing, autos. smooth breathing, and logo. Now, this is an accent showing the dative form in a speech. The prepositions are controlled, they control certain forms, the four forms of the term. It's either a nominative or an accusative, dative, or genitive, and this is a dative form of the word, that little squiggly behind the omega, under the omega. The smooth breathing, agathos, good. All right. In your assignment, I'm going to hold up the paper here. You can't see it. It's messing up because of the there. That's a little bit better, but you can't read it here. I'm sorry. When you open up the assignment for language exercise number 1, alphabets and pronunciation, forget number 1. You don't have both of your languages down where you're comfortable using them. Not that you can speak them or anything, but you've taken language courses, so you're comfortable. Don't need to do these practice language assignments. But you go to 2, and for those who have experience with only one language, those with only Greek, A, 1 or 2, and in your case, you do 2. You flip to the very back, and that explains it at the very bottom. It says number 3, for those with no language experience, do the following exercises for the assignment above. Hebrew exercises 2A1 or 2A2, which is 2A2. So you don't do this one on any assignments, and it's going to be consistent with the other language assignments. You're going to do 2. Do all the Hebrew exercises and do all the Greek exercises. And it says Greek exercise 1, make a recording of yourself, see the announcements in Canvas, and say the alphabet and sound out the following terms. And those are the terms right down at the bottom of this sheet that you're going to have there in little II. Same thing with the Hebrew, say the Hebrew alphabet and say the words. There's some examples for how to say the terms, and it's at the top of the page in the back for the Hebrew terms, the top of the page up there. Let me know any questions you have if you get a little confused about that. Let's shift to Hebrew. There's a handout, but if we were to go through the letters, it's from right to left, not left to right in Hebrew. Get my picture out of the way. And here's how to say them. Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Hey. And notice there's an open spot in this letter. So it's just like an H sound. Hey, Vav, Zion, Chait. You almost have to use the back of the throat. Chait, like you're clearing your throat and going to spit. Chait. Notice it looks like an H, hey, but it doesn't have the open spot up here. Oh, back up. Second line, Tate, Yod, Kaf, Lamed, Mim, Nun, Samek, just an S sound, Ayin, almost like you don't say it, Ayin. It's a soft one. Pei, Tzadeh, there's your tongue and teeth together, the roof of your mouth. Tzadeh, Kof, Resh, Sheen, Seen. There's 2 letters here. You'll see it with a dot above either the right fork or the left fork. Oh, come on back up. And Tav. Now the letters get a little bit more complicated. Some of them, if it's the final letter, like the Greek letter for S, here, if it's the final letter in the word, the kaf, right here, kaf, it drops down below the line. You'd have to put a line right at the bottom of the meme, and here it's fills in more definite. The noon drops down. The final pay drops down. The tzaddik, the line at the bottom, drops down. So it's at the end of a word, you're going to see it looking a little differently. Notice the tittles, we call them. Jesus said, not the smallest letter or the stroke of a letter. The smallest letter is the ayin. The stroke of the letter, the tittle, is the little differences in the letter. You look at the vav and the zayin, and there's just a little difference on the back of it. The hate and the hate. I already mentioned the open space and the hey, the kate. It's not open. Cough. Bait. This little back part is the tittle on the letter. Bait and pay. Notice the drop down part in the center. And doesn't have the ending on the pay. The hey and the tav, the little squiggle at the bottom. The vav and the noon. The noon would have a little line across. Here it's a final noon. It drops down. The mem and the samach. So as you compare letters, you're going to see some slight differences that you need to start recognizing and distinguishing the letters so then you can transliterate them. The vowels in Hebrew were added later by the Masoretes, and they go below the letters for the most part. It's patik, and this would be below the consonants. It's a consonantal language. It's built on 3 letters for each word. Sometimes there's not a letter, but most often you're going to have 3 letters added. The subject, the person speaking, or the person being addressed, the direct object, onto the word. So there's a lot more letters, but we're looking for now the vowels. So we have comets, and that's how it's pronounced. Comets, patak, tsere, segol. There's 3 little dots. Hirik, at the bottom, just 1. Shiv, below. Now we have some above. Colon, kibbutz, back down. This looks like a vav with a dot on it, but it's a cholon male. Cholon. Surik looks like a vav, but that little dot says it's different. Chatep, comets, so it's got the comets with the 2 dots. Chatepatek, there's the 1 little line, but there's 2 dots in front of it. And the chatep segol, the 3. Those will be sounded out and translated differently. So practice. Av, father. That patek at the bottom. Na'ar, young man. Mitzna, the pet name, the penny. Ahmad, to stand. Servant, Eved, the ayin beit dalet. Iyim, water. Oh, I'm not using the meme sound. Mikim, mayim. And there's more practice. The assignments, you come back up here and back out. All right, our assignments for next week. Out to the right, you saw that I went through the schedule earlier. So for this coming Thursday, turn in your research topic, and I mentioned the students and to everybody that you submitted it. If it's not quite what I want, if you follow those 3 statements there by using that 1 slide, then it'll be great. You'll probably be right on. If I need to change anything, I'll put a 0 in it and say, hey, try it again. And I'm going to make some suggestion in the comments box for you to refine. And then we'll get a good topic at the beginning. Do formatting, practice formatting, number 1 in Canvas, and software language exercises, number 1 for this coming Thursday. On Thursday, we're going to have a guest presenter, Tiffany Smith, our librarian, to come and talk about research. So looking forward to that, and hopefully we get a good recording for you. Well, each one, hopefully this answers your question. Try to come back to what you asked. No sound in the video. All right, it stopped. No files that can be opened or downloaded in the week 1 language exercises. Can't find any files. Thus, I don't know how to do the assignment. Language 1 exercise assignment. That's this piece of paper. I don't have Canvas logged in. Let me get into Canvas. There we are. And as you go down to the bottom, you're going to find the assignments listed. Research topic, language exercises, alphabet 1. Click on it, get into the language. There's an option for the library, open, download this file. Oh, wow, there is no file. Now, let me do something. Go to student view. Wow. All right, I've got to make a mistake. I've made a mistake. Thanks, everyone. I gave everybody else a paper in class, so you have observed something. The link was dropped when I loaded this class into Canvas, so I'll correct that, and you should be able to go when you listen to this and go right to the assignment, because there's this piece of paper, this file rather, that would be identified there. So sorry for that, Li Cheng. Thank you for clarifying. Boy, let me know. Have a good week in the Lord. We'll see you later.